My boss fired me for something I didn't do, so I showed him what I actually found on his computer. Brennan called me into his office on a Tuesday morning, his face stone cold. He'd been acting strange all week, avoiding eye contact, whispering with HR behind closed doors. "We're letting you go," he said without preamble. "Effective immediately." I stared at him, confused. "What? Why?" "Sexual harassment complaint," he replied, sliding a folder across his desk. "Multiple female employees have come forward." My stomach dropped. The complaint detailed inappropriate comments I'd supposedly made to 3 coworkers. Dates, times, exact quotes, all fabricated but disturbingly specific. "This is insane," I said, scanning the documents. "I never said any of this." "The investigation is concluded," Brennan said. "Security will escort you out." I'd worked at Meridian Tech for 4 years. Clean record, good reviews, never even a write-up. This came from nowhere. Walking past my cubicle to collect my things, I noticed something odd. My computer monitor was slightly askew, like someone had been using it. The keyboard wasn't in its usual position either. That's when I remembered Brennan had asked to borrow my login last week for a system update. Said IT needed to access my machine remotely. Security was distracted, arguing about which exit to use. I had maybe 2 minutes. I slipped back to my desk and logged in. My browser history showed websites I'd never visited. Dating sites, adult content, social media pages belonging to my female coworkers. Someone had been building a digital trail to support the harassment claims, but they'd made a mistake. The activity timestamps showed I was supposedly browsing inappropriate content during my vacation last month, when I was in the hospital with my dad after his stroke. I forwarded everything to my personal email, just as security returned. 3 days later, I met with a lawyer. She reviewed the evidence and smiled grimly. "Your boss made this too obvious," she said. "We can prove these accusations are fabricated." "But why would he do this?" I asked. She pulled out another folder. "I did some digging. Your company is being audited by the state. Someone's been embezzling funds through fake vendor accounts." My blood ran cold. I remembered Brennan asking me to approve invoices last quarter. Vendors I'd never heard of, but he said they were legitimate. "He needed a scapegoat," she continued. "Someone to blame when the audit finds the missing money. But firing you for theft would require proof. Sexual harassment is harder to disprove." The lawsuit hit Meridian Tech like a sledgehammer. During discovery, investigators found Brennan's real browser history. Gambling debts, desperate emails to loan sharks, and correspondence with a company called Phoenix Consulting, which existed only on paper. He'd stolen $340,000 over 2 years. The female employees who'd supposedly complained, they testified they'd never filed reports. Brennan had forged their signatures using documents from HR files. When the FBI arrested him, Brennan looked at me through the conference room window. His mouth moved silently, but I could read his lips. "You're dead." I thought he was just angry about getting caught. Then my apartment was broken into. Nothing stolen, but my laptop had been tampered with. New files appeared overnight. Files that would destroy my reputation if they surfaced. Someone knocked on my door at midnight. I looked through the peephole and saw a woman I didn't recognize. "Phoenix Consulting sent me," she said quietly. "We need to talk about your boss. He wasn't working alone." I stared through the peephole at the woman outside my door. She was maybe 35, wearing a dark coat that looked expensive. Her hair was pulled back in a way that said business, but her eyes kept darting toward the stairs like she expected someone to follow her. "I don't know what Phoenix Consulting is," I called through the door. "Yes, you do," she replied. "You forwarded their invoices to accounts payable. Brennan told you they were legitimate vendors." My hand froze on the deadbolt. She was right. I had processed those payments, dozens of them over the past 2 years, always small amounts, nothing that would trigger an audit flag. "What do you want?" "To keep you alive," she said simply. "Brennan's in federal custody, but his partners aren't. They think you know more than you do." I opened the door but kept the chain latch engaged. Up close, she looked tired. Dark circles under her eyes, the kind that came from too many sleepless nights. "Who are you?" "Detective Rodriguez, Financial Crimes Unit." She held up her badge. "I've been investigating Phoenix Consulting for 8 months. Your lawsuit cracked the case wide open." I unlatched the chain and let her in. My apartment felt different with a stranger in it, smaller. She moved through the space like she was cataloging everything. Exits, windows, places someone could hide. How much danger am I in? Depends on what you know about the Kowalski brothers. The name hit me like ice water. I'd heard Brennan on the phone with someone named Kowalski once. He'd gotten angry when he saw me listening and slammed his office door. "I don't know anything about them. They think you do." Phoenix Consulting was their front. They've been laundering money through companies like Meridian Tech for years, small amounts spread across dozens of businesses. She pulled out her phone and showed me photos. 2 men who looked like they'd stepped out of a crime movie, expensive suits, cold eyes, the kind of people you cross the street to avoid. Victor and Pavel Kowalski, they're not the type to leave loose ends. What kind of loose ends? The kind that testify in federal court. My legs gave out. I sat down hard on my couch. "But I don't know anything. I just processed invoices." "You processed their invoices. You have access to their payment records. You can testify about the pattern of transactions. Can't the FBI get that information themselves? Some of it. But they need someone who is inside the process. Someone who can explain how the scam worked from the inside." She sat across from me, leaning forward. "Here's what we know. The Kowalskis identify mid-level employees at tech companies, people with invoice approval authority but not enough seniority to ask too many questions. They compromise these employees through gambling debts, blackmail, or simple greed. Brennan had gambling debts. Exactly. Once they have their man inside, they start small. Invoices for consulting services, software licenses, equipment rentals. Nothing suspicious on its own. I thought about all those Phoenix Consulting invoices. Web development services, IT consulting, software maintenance. They'd seemed legitimate at the time. The money gets cleaned through multiple shell companies, then funneled back to their legitimate businesses. Real estate, restaurants, construction, classic money laundering. How many companies are involved? We've identified 47 so far, but we think there are more. 47 companies, hundreds of employees processing fake invoices. The scope was staggering. Why didn't Brennan just fire me normally? Why the harassment scheme? Because firing you for cause would trigger an investigation. HR would review your work, audit your approvals. They'd find the fake invoices. But if I was fired for harassment, no one looks at your work history. The company just wants you gone quietly. It was brilliant in its simplicity. Destroy someone's reputation so thoroughly that no one would believe them if they tried to expose the truth. The break-in at your apartment, Rodriguez continued. They were planting evidence. If you'd tried to go public with what you knew, they could discredit you completely. What kind of evidence? She hesitated. The kind that would make the harassment charges look real. My stomach turned. They were going to frame me twice. It gets worse. We have reason to believe they were planning to eliminate you permanently. The room seemed to tilt. Eliminate? Make it look like suicide. Guilt over the harassment charges, career ruined, financial problems. It's a story that would make sense to everyone. I stood up and walked to the window. The street looked different now. Every shadow could hide a threat. What do I do? Testify. Help us take them down. And if I don't, they'll kill you anyway. At least this way you have a chance. Rodriguez left me with her card and a direct line to the FBI's witness protection coordinator. She also left me with a choice that wasn't really a choice at all. I spent the rest of the night staring at the ceiling, thinking about how quickly my life had spiraled out of control. 4 days ago, I was a normal IT worker with a boring job and a routine life. Now I was caught in the middle of a federal investigation, with professional killers wanting me dead. The next morning, I called in sick to my temp job and met Rodriguez at a coffee shop downtown. She'd brought backup, a federal agent named Martinez who looked like he could bench press a car. "We need you to wear a wire," Rodriguez said without preamble. "What? Why?" "Brennan's lawyer is pushing for a deal. He wants to trade information for a reduced sentence." "That's good, right? Only if we can verify what he tells us. We need you to get him talking about the Kowalskis." Martinez slid a small device across the table. It looked like a pen, but when he clicked it, a tiny red light appeared. "State-of-the-art recording equipment. Battery lasts 8 hours. You want me to visit Brennan in jail?" "He made bail yesterday," Rodriguez said. "House arrest, ankle monitor, the works. But he can have visitors. He'll never talk to me. He knows I'm the reason he got caught. That's exactly why he'll talk to you. He's angry, scared, probably desperate. People in his position make mistakes." I held the recording device, feeling its weight. Such a small thing to carry so much danger. What if he suspects something? "Then you leave immediately," Martinez said. "Don't try to be a hero." That afternoon, I stood outside Brennan's house in the suburbs. It was a modest, 2-story colonial with a neat lawn and flower beds his wife had probably planted. The American dream, built on stolen money. I could see the ankle monitor blinking through his window as I rang the doorbell. Brennan answered wearing sweatpants and a wrinkled t-shirt. His hair was unkempt, and he looked like he hadn't slept in days. "What the hell are you doing here?" I wanted to talk. "About what? How you destroyed my life?" "About the truth." He stared at me for a long moment, then stepped aside to let me in. His house was a mess. Boxes everywhere like his wife had been packing. Pizza boxes and empty beer bottles covered the coffee table. "Rachel left me," he said, following my gaze. "Took the kids to her mother's, can't say I blame her." "I'm sorry. Are you? Or are you here to gloat?" "Neither. I'm here because I want to understand why." He laughed bitterly. "Why what? Why I framed you for harassment? Why I stole money? Why I ruined both our lives? All of it." He collapsed into his recliner, and for a moment he looked more pathetic than threatening. "It started small," he said. "Just a few thousand here and there. Victor said it was temporary, just until I could pay off my debts." "Victor Kowalski?" His head snapped up. "How do you know that name?" "The FBI mentioned it." "Jesus Christ, they know about Victor?" I tried to keep my expression neutral, but inside, my heart was racing. The recording device felt hot in my pocket. "They know about Phoenix Consulting." "Phoenix was just the tip of the iceberg," he said, running his hands through his hair. "Victor's got operations in 12 states, dozens of shell companies." "How did you meet him?" "Online poker. I was down about 50 grand, couldn't make payments. Victor reached out, said he could help." "In exchange for what?" "Access. He needed someone inside a tech company who could approve invoices without asking questions. So you recruited me. I needed someone trustworthy to process the payments, someone who wouldn't get suspicious. But then the audit started. State auditors are thorough. They would have found everything eventually. Victor said I needed to create a distraction. The harassment charges. It was supposed to be simple. Get you fired quietly, maybe relocate you somewhere else. Victor's people would have made sure you stayed quiet." "Made sure how?" His face went pale. "I thought they just meant money. A payoff to keep your mouth shut. But that's not what they meant. No. After your lawsuit started, Victor called me. He was furious. Said you were a liability that needed to be eliminated." "Eliminated how?" "I don't know. I didn't want to know. That's when I realized how deep I was in." I leaned forward. "Brennan, These people are going to kill me, and probably you too. I know. His voice was barely a whisper. Help me stop them. I can't. You don't understand what Victor's capable of. Tell me. He was quiet for a long time. Then he got up and went to the window, peering through the blinds. 2 years ago, there was another accountant in Phoenix, guy named Henderson. He started asking questions about some of the same shell companies. What happened to him? Car accident. Single vehicle. Late at night. Went off a bridge. You think Victor? I know Victor. Henderson's car was found with $40,000 in cash in the trunk. Made it look like he was skimming money, got drunk, and crashed. But you don't think that's what happened? Henderson didn't drink. Never touched alcohol in his life. The weight of what I was dealing with hit me fully. These weren't just white-collar criminals. They were killers. There's more, Brennan continued. A bookkeeper in Detroit, an office manager in Atlanta, all dead within 6 months of asking the wrong questions. Why are you telling me this? Because Victor's already marked both of us for death. The only question is when. I thought about Rodriguez's offer of witness protection, a new identity, new life, new everything. It was starting to sound less like a burden and more like salvation. What if we could stop them? We can't. Victor's got judges, police, politicians. He's untouchable. The FBI doesn't think so. The FBI doesn't know Victor like I do. But as he said it, something shifted in his expression. Like maybe, for the first time, he was considering the possibility. What would it take? He asked quietly. Testimony. Records. Evidence of the whole operation. I'd be dead within a week. Not if Victor's in prison. You'd need evidence of the murders, financial records, communications. Victor's too smart to leave that kind of trail. Where would he keep it? Brennan looked at me like I was insane. You're not seriously thinking about going after Victor directly. I'm thinking about staying alive. Then run. Change your name. Move to another country. It's your only chance. What about you? I'm already dead. I just haven't stopped breathing yet. I left Brennan's house with more questions than answers, but the recording device in my pocket held valuable information. Victor Kowalski wasn't just a money launderer. He was a killer who'd eliminated anyone who threatened his operation. Rodriguez listened to the recording with a grim expression. This changes everything, she said. We're not just talking about financial crimes anymore. Can you protect me? We can try. But Brennan's right about one thing. Victor's got resources. He's been operating for years without getting caught. So what do? We build a case, start with the financial crimes, use those to get warrants for the murder investigations. How long will that take? Months, maybe years. I might not have months. Rodriguez nodded grimly. That's why we need to move fast. Over the next week, I found myself living in a strange twilight existence. I moved to a safe house the FBI provided, a nondescript apartment in a neighborhood I'd never seen before. I couldn't contact friends or family, couldn't go to familiar places, or maintain my normal routine. Martinez checked on me daily, bringing groceries and updates on the investigation. The FBI had started surveillance on known Kowalski associates, monitoring their communications and financial transactions. We're building a timeline, he explained. Every suspicious death, every shell company, every fake invoice, it's a massive operation. Any progress on finding Victor? He's good at staying hidden. Multiple residences, shell companies for everything. But we'll find him. I spent my days reading, watching TV, and trying not to think about the fact that professional killers were looking for me. It was like being in prison, except the guards were trying to keep people out instead of in. Then, on a Tuesday morning, everything changed. Martinez arrived looking shaken. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Brennan's dead. The words hit me like a physical blow. How? Apparent suicide. Hanging in his basement. You don't believe it. His ankle monitor showed he never left the house. No signs of struggle, but the timing is suspicious. Victor? Has to be. The question is how? We sat in silence for a moment. If Victor could reach Brennan under house arrest with federal monitoring, nowhere was safe. There's something else, Martinez said. Before he died, Brennan called our tip line, left a message. He played the recording on his phone. Brennan's voice was shaky, afraid. This is Brennan Hutchins. If something happens to me, check storage unit 247 at Secure Space on Maple Street. The key is taped under my kitchen sink. Tell Rodriguez she was right about everything. You checked the storage unit? This morning. It's full of records, financial documents, communications, evidence of the whole operation. Including the murders? Including the murders. Brennan documented everything. He was more scared of Victor than we realized. The evidence from Brennan's storage unit was devastating. Financial records showing millions of dollars laundered through dozens of companies. Email communications between Victor and various employees he'd compromised. And most damning of all, detailed records of the people who'd been eliminated for getting too close to the truth. Henderson in Phoenix, a bookkeeper named Thompson in Detroit, an office manager named Walsh in Atlanta, and 6 others across the country, all killed within months of discovering irregularities in their company's finances. It's enough to bring charges, Rodriguez said. Multiple counts of murder, racketeering, money laundering. If we can find Victor. Still no luck with that? He's vanished, but his brother Pavel is still active. We're watching him, hoping he'll lead us to Victor. That night, alone in the safe house, I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow looked like a threat. Brennan's death had shown that Victor could reach anyone, anywhere. I was making coffee the next morning when I heard a key in the lock. Martinez wasn't supposed to arrive until noon. I grabbed the kitchen knife and crept toward the front door. The lock turned, and the door opened slowly. Pavel Kowalski stepped inside. He was younger than Victor, maybe 40, with the same cold eyes I'd seen in the photos. He moved with the confidence of someone who'd never had to worry about consequences. "Hello, Thomas," he said calmly. "We need to talk." I held the knife in front of me, but we both knew it wouldn't help. If he wanted me dead, I'd already be dead. "How did you find me?" "Your friend Detective Rodriguez isn't as careful as she thinks." He closed the door behind him and looked around the apartment. "Federal safe house. Not bad. Better than the motel in Phoenix where we found Henderson. What do you want?" "To offer you a choice." He sat down on the couch like he owned the place. "My brother is upset about recent developments. Your lawsuit, the federal investigation, Brennan's unfortunate death. It's caused problems for our business." "Good. Is it? Because now 12 families are without income. Dozens of employees will lose their jobs, all because you couldn't leave well enough alone. People died. People die every day. Most of them don't matter. They mattered to me. That's your problem. You think you're some kind of hero." Pavel stood up and walked to the window. "Here's your choice. You disappear. New identity, new life, far away from here. We provide $50,000 to help you start over. In exchange for what? You never testify, never contact the FBI again, never speak about any of this to anyone. And if I refuse, then you join Brennan." I thought about Rodriguez, Martinez, all the FBI agents working to build a case, about Henderson and Thompson and Walsh and all the others who died for asking questions. "I can't do that." Pavel nodded like he'd expected that answer. "Then you'll die like them. But first, we'll make sure everyone you care about understands the consequences of crossing us. I don't have anyone left. Your sister Jennifer in Seattle, your nephew Kyle who just started college, your mother in the nursing home in Tampa." My blood turned to ice. I'd never mentioned my family to anyone connected to this case. "You bastard! They're all under surveillance. One phone call from me, and they'll have accidents, car crashes, house fires, medical emergencies. The FBI can't protect them all. What do you want?" "I want you to call Detective Rodriguez. Tell her you've changed your mind about testifying. Tell her you're dropping out of witness protection. She'll know something's wrong. Then convince her nothing is wrong." He handed me my phone. "Do it now." I stared at the phone, thinking about Jennifer, about Kyle, about my mother. They had no idea their lives were in danger because of me. "If I do this, you leave them alone? If you do this and disappear forever, they'll never know how close they came to dying." I dialed Rodriguez's number with shaking hands. "Thomas, what's wrong?" "I'm done," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I can't do this anymore." "What are you talking about?" "The testimony, the case, all of it. I want out." "Thomas, we've been through this. Victor will kill you if you don't testify. Maybe, but at least my family will be safe." There was a long pause. "Someone's there, isn't it?" she said quietly. Pavel was watching me intently. I met his eyes and nodded. "I'm fine. I just can't live like this anymore. Where do you want to meet?" "I don't. I'm leaving town tonight. Don't try to find me." "Thomas!" I hung up. Pavel smiled. "Very good. Now, let's discuss your relocation. What happened next would haunt me for years." Pavel wasn't just offering me a way out. He was offering me a way into a different kind of prison. One where I'd spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder, knowing that any mistake could mean death for people I loved. But as we talked about fake identities and new cities, I started to notice things. Pavel was confident, but he was also nervous. He kept checking his phone, glancing at the window. He was expecting someone. "Is Victor coming?" I asked. "My brother doesn't handle the details anymore, but he's nearby." Pavel's expression flickered. Just for a second, but enough to confirm what I suspected. "How nearby?" "That's not your concern, but it was my concern. Because if Victor was close, it meant this whole thing was more than just a relocation offer. It was an execution disguised as a negotiation." Pavel's phone buzzed. He read the message and frowned. "Change of plans," he said. "We're leaving now." "Where are we going?" "Somewhere more private." I knew that if I left this apartment, I'd never be seen alive again. Despite his promises about relocation, Pavel was taking me somewhere to die. "I need to pack my things." "You won't need them." That's when I was certain. "Actually," I said, "I think I changed my mind about testifying." Pavel's hand moved to his jacket. "Too late for that." "Is it?" I lunged for the kitchen. Not for the knife I'd dropped, but for the phone Rodriguez had given me for emergencies. It had a panic button that would bring FBI backup immediately. Pavel tackled me before I could reach it, but the struggle knocked over a lamp, sending it crashing to the floor. "You stupid bastard," he snarled, pulling a gun. "You could have lived. So could Henderson, and Thompson, and Walsh. They were business decisions. This is a personal one." I heard footsteps on the stairs outside. Heavy boots moving fast. Pavel heard them too. His eyes went wide. "FBI, open up!" The door exploded inward. Federal agents poured into the apartment, weapons drawn. Pavel spun toward them, raising his gun, but Martinez put 2 bullets in his chest before he could fire. As Pavel collapsed, Rodriguez helped me to my feet. "Are you hurt? How did you know?" "The phone call. You mentioned your family. You've never talked about family before. You've been monitoring the apartment? Since yesterday. We knew they'd found you." Martinez was checking Pavel's pulse. "He's dead." Rodriguez knelt beside the body and searched his pockets, pulling out his phone. "Recent messages," she said, scrolling through them. "Looks like Victor's been coordinating from somewhere nearby." "How nearby?" She held up the phone. "According to this, he's in room 237 at the Marriott downtown." 20 minutes later, we were racing through downtown traffic with a full FBI tactical team. I sat in the back of Rodriguez's car, wearing a bulletproof vest and wondering how my life had become an action movie. "This could all be over in an hour," Rodriguez said. Victor's been our white whale for 2 years. What if it's a trap? Then we'll deal with it. The Marriott was a 40-story tower in the heart of the financial district. FBI agents surrounded the building while others evacuated guests from the floor above and below room 237. I watched from the command vehicle as agents prepared to breach Victor's room. "Target acquired," came the voice over the radio. "Adult male, matches description. Is he armed? Can't tell. He's sitting at a desk, appears to be working on a laptop. Move in." The next few minutes were chaos. Shouting, the sound of a door being smashed. More shouting, then silence. "Target secured," the voice said finally. "Victor Kowalski is in custody." Rodriguez grinned. "We got him." But something felt wrong. It had been too easy. Why was he just sitting there? I asked. He had to know we were coming. Maybe he didn't have anywhere else to run, or maybe he wanted to be caught. An hour later at FBI headquarters, I watched through one-way glass as Rodriguez interrogated Victor Kowalski. He was smaller than I'd expected. Mid-50s, gray hair, expensive suit. He looked more like a banker than a killer. "We have evidence of at least 9 murders," Rodriguez was saying. "Multiple counts of racketeering, money laundering, witness intimidation." Victor said nothing. "Your brother is dead. Your network is compromised. It's over." Still nothing. "We can offer a deal if you cooperate. Tell us about the other operations, the people you worked with." Victor smiled for the first time. "Detective Rodriguez," he said in a slight accent I couldn't place. "You have no idea what you've stumbled into. Enlighten me." Phoenix Consulting was one shell company among hundreds. Pavel and I were middle management at best. Rodriguez leaned forward. "Who do you work for?" "People who don't appreciate attention." "What people?" "The kind who can reach federal witnesses in safe houses. The kind who can make FBI detectives disappear." "Is that a threat?" "It's a fact." "You think this ends with my arrest? You think Thomas is safe now?" Victor looked directly at the one-way glass like he could see me watching. "This is just the beginning." 2 days later, Rodriguez got a call that would change everything we thought we knew about the case. "They found something in Victor's hotel room," she told me. "Financial records showing payments to dozens of government officials, judges, prosecutors, police chiefs. Bribes? More than that. It looks like they've been running a systematic corruption operation for years. How high does it go? We don't know yet, but some of these payments were to people involved in our investigation." The implication hit me like a truck. There's a mole in the FBI? Or worse, multiple moles. What does that mean for the case? It means we can't trust anyone. Over the next week, the investigation expanded beyond anything I could have imagined. The financial records from Victor's hotel room revealed a network of corruption that reached into every level of law enforcement. 3 federal judges were arrested. A U.S. attorney was indicted. 7 FBI agents were suspended pending investigation. And that was just the beginning. "It's like pulling a thread," Rodriguez explained during one of our daily meetings. "Every arrest leads to 2 more. Where does it end? We don't know. But we're starting to understand why Victor seemed so confident. He had reason to believe he was untouchable. And now? Now we're finding out just how deep this goes." The media had gotten hold of the story by then. The headlines were sensational. "Massive corruption scandal rocks FBI," and "Organized crime infiltrates federal government." My name was kept out of the papers, but I knew it was only a matter of time before someone leaked it. "We need to move you again," Martinez said. "Too many people know about this safe house." "Where to?" "Somewhere no one will think to look." The new safe house was a farmhouse in rural Virginia, 2 hours from anywhere that mattered. It was isolated, secure, and mind-numbingly boring. I spent my days reading reports about the expanding investigation and trying not to think about how many powerful people wanted me dead. Then, 3 weeks after Victor's arrest, Rodriguez arrived with news that changed everything. "Victor's been murdered." "What? How?" "Someone got to him in federal prison, made it look like a suicide, but we know better. Who could reach him there?" "That's what we're trying to figure out, but it means the people above Victor are cleaning house." "Am I next?" "We don't know, but we're taking precautions." Those precautions included moving me to a different safe house every few days, changing my identity documents, and limiting my contact with anyone connected to the investigation. It was like being erased from existence one piece at a time, but the investigation continued. Every day brought new arrests, new revelations, new evidence of just how extensive the corruption had become. A month after Victor's death, Rodriguez came to see me with an unexpected proposal. "We want you to go public." "What do you mean?" "Testify before Congress. Tell your story on national television." "Are you insane?" "That would be signing my death warrant." "Maybe. Or maybe it would be the safest thing you could do." "How do you figure that?" "Right now, you're a secret. Someone only a few people know about. If you go public, become a household name, it becomes much harder to kill you quietly." I thought about it for a long time. The idea of stepping into the spotlight was terrifying, but so was spending the rest of my life hiding in the shadows. What would I have to do? Tell the truth, start to finish. How Brennan framed you, how you discovered the corruption, what you learned about the murders. And then what? Then we see what happens. The congressional hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday in October. I spent the previous week preparing with FBI lawyers, going over my testimony, anticipating questions. The night before the hearing, I sat in my hotel room under heavy guard and thought about everything that had led to this moment. A year ago, I was just another office worker, processing invoices and living a quiet life. Now I was about to testify before Congress about a corruption scandal that had already brought down dozens of officials and would likely bring down dozens more. I thought about Brennan, dead in his basement, about Pavel, shot in my safe house apartment, about Victor, murdered in federal prison. about Henderson and Thompson and Walsh and all the others who died for asking questions. Tomorrow, I would tell their stories to the world. The hearing room was packed with reporters, cameras, and spectators. I sat at a long table facing a panel of senators and representatives, my hands shaking despite the beta blockers the FBI doctor had given me. "Mr. Davidson," the committee chairman began, "please tell us how you first became aware of irregularities at Meridian Technologies." For the next 4 hours, I told my story. Every detail, every revelation, every moment of fear and confusion. I showed them the fake invoices, played recordings of my conversations with Brennan, explained how the corruption network operated. The senators asked tough questions. Some seemed skeptical, others outraged. All of them wanted to know how something like this could happen. "In your opinion, Mr. Davidson," one senator asked, "how extensive is this corruption?" "Based on what I've seen," I replied, "I believe it reaches into every major law enforcement agency. FBI, DEA, U.S. attorneys' offices, federal courts. It's not just a few bad actors, it's a systematic compromise of our justice system." That's a serious accusation. It's a serious problem. When the hearing ended, I was exhausted but relieved. I told the truth, all of it, in front of the entire country. That night, the story dominated every news channel. My face was on the front page of every newspaper. The corruption scandal had a human face now, and it was mine. Rodriguez met me at the hotel that evening. "How do you feel?" "Exposed." "That's good. Exposure is protection now. What happens next?" Now we see how many more dominoes fall. Over the following weeks, my testimony triggered an avalanche of new investigations. Congressional committees launched inquiries into multiple agencies. The Justice Department appointed special prosecutors. Internal affairs divisions opened hundreds of cases. The corruption network that had seemed so powerful began to crumble under the weight of public scrutiny. But the people behind it weren't going down without a fight. 3 days after my testimony, someone tried to poison me at a restaurant. The FBI food tester caught it before I took a bite. A week later, a car tried to run me down as I left the courthouse after another hearing. My security detail pushed me out of the way just in time. 2 weeks after that, someone sent a package bomb to my hotel. The bomb squad disposed of it safely, but the message was clear. Going public hadn't made me safe. "They're getting desperate," Rodriguez said. "That's good news." "How is attempted murder good news?" "Because desperate people make mistakes." She was right. Each assassination attempt left clues, DNA evidence, fingerprints, surveillance footage. The FBI was building cases against the people trying to kill me, which led them to the people giving the orders. 6 months after my congressional testimony, the scope of what we'd uncovered was staggering. 127 government officials arrested or indicted, 45 companies shut down for money laundering $340 million in assets, seized 23 murders solved and attributed to the corruption network, but the biggest victory came when they arrested the man behind it all. Senator Richard Blackwood had been running the corruption network for over a decade. As chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, he'd had access to information about every major federal investigation. He'd used that access to protect criminals, eliminate threats, and build a shadow network that reached into every corner of the justice system. When they arrested him, they found evidence linking him to dozens of murders, including Victor's death in prison. I testified against Blackwood at his trial, facing him across a courtroom as I described how his network had operated. He stared at me with cold hatred throughout my testimony, but he never said a word. The jury convicted him on all charges, life in prison without the possibility of parole. As they led him away in shackles, he looked back at me one last time. "This isn't over," he mouthed silently. But it was over. The corruption network was dismantled. The murders were solved. The criminals were in prison. I was finally free. That was 5 years ago. Today, I live under my real name in a small city in Colorado. I work as a cybersecurity consultant, helping companies detect financial fraud. It's not exciting work, but it's honest work. And after everything I've been through, honest work feels like a luxury. I still get death threats occasionally. Men like Blackwood have followers, people who believe I'm a traitor for exposing the truth. But the FBI monitors the threats, and so far, none have turned into actual danger. Rodriguez retired from the FBI and now teaches criminal justice at a university. Martinez runs the financial crimes unit in the Denver field office. We stay in touch, sharing updates about our lives and families. Last month, Rodriguez sent me a newspaper clipping, a headline that read, "Financial Fraud Network Exposed by Employee Whistleblower." The story was about a woman in Phoenix who discovered her company was being used to launder money for drug cartels. Instead of staying quiet, she'd gone to the FBI. Instead of being intimidated by threats, she'd testified before a grand jury. The corruption network was shut down. The criminals were arrested. Another ordinary person had found the courage to do the right thing. I kept the newspaper clipping on my desk as a reminder that the system only works when people are willing to fight for it. That justice isn't something that happens automatically. It's something we have to choose again and again, even when the cost is high. My boss tried to fire me for something I didn't do. Instead, I exposed something he actually did. And in doing so, I helped expose something much bigger. A corruption network that had been poisoning our justice system for years. It cost me my old life, my sense of security, my anonymity. But it gave me something more valuable. The knowledge that sometimes one person really can make a difference. Even when that person is just a mid-level IT worker who got curious about some fake invoices.